Hi, third graders. I wanted to end the year reading a story too that's one of my favorites. It's a true story about a couple of baseball players that really existed. And you may have heard this story before, but I think it's worth hearing again. I've read it many, many times over the years. It's called Teammates. And it's written by Peter Golenbock, and illustrated by Paul Bacon. And inside the cover, there's a quote that I'd like to share with you. It says, "Jackie Robinson was more than just my teammate. He had a tremendous amount of talent, ability, and dedication. Jackie set a standard for future generations of ball players. He was a winner. Jackie Robinson was also a man." By Pee Wee Reese, October 31st, 1989. Once upon a time in America, when automobiles were black and looked like tanks, and laundry was white and hung on clotheslines to dry, there were two wonderful baseball leagues that no longer exist. They were called the Negro Leagues. The Negro Leagues had extraordinary players and adoring fans that came to see them wherever they played. They were heroes, but players in the Negro Leagues didn't make much money, and their lives on the road were hard. Laws against segregation did not exist in the 1940s. In many places in this country, black people were not allowed to go to the same schools and churches as white people. They couldn't sit in the front of a bus or trolley car. They couldn't drink from the same drinking fountains that white people drank from. Back then, many hotels didn't rent rooms to black people, so the Negro League players slept in their cars. Many towns had no restaurants that would serve them, so they often had to eat meals that they could buy and carry with them. Life was very difficult for the players in the major leagues. There were the two leagues for white players. Compared to the Negro League players, white players were very well paid. They stayed in good hotels and ate in fine restaurants. Their pictures were put on baseball cards, and the best players became famous all over the world. Many Americans knew that racial prejudice was wrong, but few dared to challenge openly the way things were, and many people were apathetic about racial problems. Some feared that it could be dangerous to object. Vigilante groups like the Ku Klux Klan reacted violently against those who tried to change the way blacks were treated. And in this story, there are some actual photographs that are mixed in with the illustrations. So these are pictures of actual baseball players from back in that day and some newspaper clippings. By the way, apathetic means that people didn't care very much or didn't show that they cared. That's what that word means. The general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers baseball team was a man by the name of Branch Rickey. He was not afraid of change. He wanted to treat the Dodger fans to the best players he could find, regardless of the color of their skin. He thought segregation was unfair and wanted to give everyone, regardless of race or creed, an opportunity to compete equally on ball fields across America. To do this, the Dodgers needed one special man. This is a picture of Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey launched a search for him. He was looking for a star player in the Negro Leagues who would be able to compete successfully despite threats on his life or attempts to injure him. He would have to possess the self-control not to fight back when opposing players tried to intimidate or hurt him. If this man disgraced himself on the field, Rickey knew his opponents would use it as an excuse to keep blacks out of Major League Baseball for many more years. Rickey thought Jackie Robinson might just be the man. Jackie rode the train to Brooklyn to meet Mr. Rickey. When Mr. Rickey told him, "I want a man with a courage not to fight back," Jackie Robinson replied, "If you take this gamble, I will do my best to perform." They shook hands. Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson were starting on what would be known in history as the Great Experiment. And here is a real photograph of those two men. Jackie Robinson and Branch Rickey. And that number will become famous on that jersey. At spring training with the Dodgers, Jackie was mobbed by blacks, young and old, as if he were a savior. He was the first black player to try out for a major league team. If he succeeded, they knew others would follow. Initially, life with the Dodgers was, for Jackie, a series of humiliations. The players on his team who came from the South, men who had been taught to avoid black people since childhood, moved to the other table when he sat down next to them. Many opposing players were cruel to him, calling him nasty names from their dugouts. A few tried to hurt him with their spiked shoes. Pitchers aimed at his head, and he received threats on his life, both from individuals and from organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. Despite all the difficulties, Jackie Robinson did not give up. He made the Brooklyn Dodgers team. You can see him in the front row on the bottom there in this photo. But making the Dodgers was only the beginning. Jackie had to face abuse and hostility throughout the season, from April through September. His worst pain was inside. Often he felt very alone. On the road, he had to live by himself because only the white players were allowed in the hotels in the towns where the team played. This whole time, Pee Wee Reese, the Dodgers shortstop, was growing up in Louisville, Kentucky. He had rarely even seen a black person, unless it was in the back of a bus. Most of his friends and relatives hated the idea of his playing on the same field as a black man. In addition, Pee Wee Reese had more to lose than all the other players when Jackie joined the team. Jackie had been a shortstop, and everyone thought that Jackie would take Pee Wee's job. Lesser men might have felt anger toward Jackie, but Pee Wee was different. He told himself, if he's good enough to take my job, he deserves it. When his Southern teammates circulated a petition to throw Jackie off the team and asked him to sign it, Pee Wee responded, I don't care if this man is black, blue, or striped, and he refused to sign it. He can play and he can help us win, he told the others, and that is what counts. Very early in the season, the Dodgers traveled west to Ohio to play the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati is near Pee Wee's hometown of Louisville. The Reds played in a small ballpark where fans sat close to the field. The players could almost feel the breath of the fans on the backs of their necks. Many who came that day screamed terrible, hateful things at Jackie when the Dodgers were on the field. More than anything else, Pee Wee Reese believed in doing what was right, and when he heard the fans yelling at Jackie, Pee Wee decided to take a stand. With his head high, Pee Wee walked directly from his shortstop position to where Jackie was playing first base. The taunts and shouting of the fans were ringing in Pee Wee's ears. It saddened him because he knew it could have been his friends and neighbors. Pee Wee's legs felt heavy, but he knew what he had to do. As he walked toward Jackie wearing the gray Dodger uniform, he looked into his teammate's bold, pained eyes. The first baseman had done nothing to provoke this hostility, except that he wanted to be treated as an equal. Jackie was grim with anger. Pee Wee smiled broadly as he reached Jackie. Jackie smiled back. Stopping beside Jackie, Pee Wee put his arm around Jackie's shoulders. An audible gasp rose up from the crowd when they saw what Pee Wee had done. Then there was silence. Outlined on a sea of green grass stood these two great athletes, one black, one white, both wearing the same team uniform. I am standing by him, Pee Wee told the world. This man is my teammate. And that's on the back of the book. So this is the photo of the team and then Jackie Robinson's number, which if you're a baseball fan, you probably know about that number. So thanks for listening today. Maybe we'll get to watch a little baseball this summer. I hope so. And in the meantime, I hope that you will continue to be a good teammate to your friends and neighbors and family members. Thanks for listening. Bye.